I woke up in the hospital ICU with tubes in my arms and an oxygen mask on my face. A nurse gently told me I had been unconscious for 18 hours after collapsing at home from a massive heart attack. She mentioned they called my emergency contact, my daughter Sarah. My heart filled with hope, expecting her to be in the waiting room. But the nurse's expression changed. She hesitated, then quietly said Sarah told them she could not come because it was her husband's birthday party. Even after they said it might be my last night, I lay in that hospital bed for 3 days, staring at the empty chair beside me. Through the glass walls of the ICU, I could see other patients with visitors, wives holding their husbands' hands, sons and daughters bringing flowers, children with get-well balloons. My chair stayed empty. I called Sarah twice. Both times, straight to voicemail. I left messages, told her I was okay, that I wanted to hear her voice. Nothing. The nurse who had broken the news to me kept checking on me. Her name was Patricia, and she had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners when she smiled. She was maybe 50 years old, with silver streaks in her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. During her breaks, she would sit in that empty chair and talk to me, ask me about my life, my work, my family. I told her about Sarah, how I raised her alone after my wife Emily died when Sarah was 12. That was 28 years ago now. Emily had an aneurysm. One minute she was laughing at something on television. The next minute she was gone. Just like that. I told Patricia how I worked double shifts as a machinist at the Thompson manufacturing plant to put Sarah through college. How I paid for her wedding 5 years ago. That cost me $43,000 from my retirement savings. But she was my only child, my only family. I wanted her to have a perfect day. Patricia listened without judgment. She did not say what I could see in her eyes, what I was starting to feel in my gut, that something was wrong with this picture. On day 4, Sarah finally called. I grabbed the phone so fast I nearly pulled out my IV line. "Dad?" Her voice was rushed, distracted. I could hear traffic in the background. "Sarah, honey, I'm so glad to hear from you." "Yeah, listen, when are they discharging you? I need to know because I have to arrange some things. Not how are you feeling. Not I'm sorry I did not come. Not I was worried sick. Just logistics. They think maybe another week or so," I said. "The doctor wants to make sure my heart is stable. Sarah, I really would love to see you. Could you maybe come by for a little while? Dad, I'm super busy right now. Work is crazy, and we've got things going on with the house. I'll try to get there before you leave." She did not try. The call lasted less than 3 minutes. Patricia came by during her evening shift. She could tell something was wrong just by looking at my face. "Your daughter?" she asked gently. I nodded. "She's busy. She has a lot going on." Patricia pulled the chair close to my bed and sat down. "Mr. Lowell, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but in my 26 years as a nurse, I've learned that people make time for what matters to them. Real emergencies, they drop everything. She's probably just overwhelmed," I said. But my voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. Over the next day, I started thinking back. Really thinking. Sarah had missed my 65th birthday last year. Said she had a work conference. Sent a card. 2 weeks late. When I had knee surgery 2 years ago, she did not visit. Said she had the flu. There was always an excuse. Always something more important. On day 5, the hospital social worker visited. Her name was Dr. Helen Bradshaw, a woman in her 40s with glasses and a clipboard. "Mr. Lowell, I wanted to talk to you about your discharge plan. You live alone, is that correct?" "Yes, ma'am, in a house in Riverside Park. Had it for 32 years. And you have family support? Someone who can check on you, help with medications, drive you to follow-up appointments?" "My daughter," I said automatically. Dr. Bradshaw looked at her notes. "Sarah? She's listed as your emergency contact, but I see here she has not visited during your stay. She's been very busy." Dr. Bradshaw gave me the same look Patricia did, sympathetic but concerned. "Mr. Lowell, recovering from a major cardiac event is serious. You're going to need support. I want to make sure you have a plan in place." After she left, I felt a knot forming in my stomach. Not from my heart this time, from something else. something I did not want to name yet. That afternoon, Patricia was in the hallway outside my room. I could hear her voice through the partially open door. She was talking to another nurse. "It just breaks my heart," Patricia said. "That sweet man in 12, his daughter has not shown up once. And get this." I looked up the date she said was her husband's birthday. Girl, there was no birthday party. She posted on Facebook that same night. She was at some fancy restaurant downtown, Bruno's Bistro, celebrating her friend's promotion. She lied to us. Lied to him. The other nurse made a sympathetic sound. "Some people, I swear. He seems like such a nice man, too." He is. He talks about her like she hung the moon. Keeps making excuses for her. But honey, I've seen this before. Family that does not show up when it matters. There's usually a reason. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling something crack inside my chest that had nothing to do with my heart attack. Sarah had lied. There was no birthday party. She just did not want to come. Did not want to sit with her father while he might be dying. The machines around me beeped steadily. Proof I was alive. But in that moment, I felt hollowed out. Like something essential had been carved away. What kind of daughter does that? What had I done wrong? These questions circled in my mind like vultures. I thought about all the sacrifices, all the double shifts, all the times I went without so she could have what she needed. And this was what I got in return. Patricia came in during her evening rounds. She saw my face and knew immediately that I had heard. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "You were not supposed to hear that." "It's okay," I said. "I needed to hear it. I've been lying to myself." She squeezed my hand. "Mr. Lowell, sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. That does not mean you did anything wrong. You hear me? This is not about you, but it felt like it was about me. It felt like I had failed somehow. Failed as a father. Failed to make her love me enough to show up when it mattered. I did not sleep that night. Just stared at the ceiling and wondered where it all went wrong. 2 weeks after that first terrible night, they finally discharged me. The cardiologist, Dr. Anderson, gave me a list of instructions as long as my arm. "Take these pills. Avoid stress. Eat this, not that. Follow up in 2 weeks." I nodded and smiled and promised to follow every rule. Sarah did not offer to pick me up. I called a taxi. The driver was a young guy, maybe 30, who talked nonstop about his kids' soccer games. I sat in the back and watched my city go by, feeling like a stranger in my own life. My house looked the same as I left it. Small, 3-bedroom ranch style in a quiet suburb. I bought it when Sarah was 5 years old. Emily had picked out the pale yellow paint color for the kitchen, said it made her happy. I never changed it. The mail had piled up. My neighbor Frank had been bringing it in and leaving it on the kitchen table. There was a lot, 2 weeks' worth. I sorted through it slowly, my hands still shaky from the medication. Bills, junk mail, coupons for places I would never go, and then I saw them. 3 envelopes from my bank, bright red letters across the top. Overdue notice. My heart, the one they just fixed, started hammering again. I had all my bills on auto pay. Had for years. How could anything be overdue? I opened them. Water bill, 3 months past due. Electric bill, 2 months overdue. Credit card minimum payment, missed twice. But I had money. My pension came in every month, $1,500, regular as clockwork, plus my Social Security, another $1,800. I was not rich, but I was comfortable. I turned on my computer, waited for it to boot up. I usually just checked my paper statements when they came in the mail, but something told me I needed to look closer. I logged into my checking account. The screen loaded. I stared at the number and felt the floor drop out from under me. Balance, $2,312.67. That was wrong. That was very wrong. I should have at least $15,000 in checking. I was careful with money. Always had been. I clicked on the transaction history. Started scrolling, and there they were, withdrawals. Lots of them. $500 here, $800 there, $1,000, $750, week after week after week, going back 8 months, all from an ATM, all from the same location. I clicked on the address, Maple Street and 7th Avenue. That was near Sarah's house, about 30 miles from here. My hands started shaking so badly I could barely use the mouse. I counted up the withdrawals. Approximately $32,000. Gone. But wait. I had a savings account too. I clicked over to it. The balance made me dizzy. $3,800 and change. There should have been close to $20,000 in there. I checked the history. Transfers. Big ones. $3,000, $5,000, $4,000. Moving money from savings to checking, then withdrawn from that same ATM. Total missing from savings. Roughly $12,000. I sat back in my chair. The room was spinning. That was $44,000. Gone. Then I remembered my credit card. I pulled up that account with shaking fingers. $8,300 in charges I did not make. Designer handbags, expensive restaurants, a jewelry store, a furniture store, Nordstrom, Saks Fifth Avenue. Total theft, approximately $52,000. I knew who did it. I knew the moment I saw that ATM location. Sarah had a copy of my card. I gave it to her 4 years ago when I had my knee surgery. Told her to use it if she needed to pay any of my bills while I was recovering. She could use it for emergencies. She never gave it back. I forgot I had even given it to her, and she knew my PIN. I had written it down for her. 4682. Emily's birthday. April 6th, 1982. I sat there for a long time. The house was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. Outside, kids were playing. Someone was mowing their lawn. Normal sounds. Normal life. But my life had just exploded. $52,000. That was almost everything I had. My safety net, my security, the money I had saved for emergencies, for medical expenses, for whatever came next in my life. Gone. My daughter stole it. I had to call her, had to hear her explanation. Maybe there was a reason. Maybe she really had been in trouble. Maybe I was jumping to conclusions. I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I dialed her number. She answered on the 4th ring. Dad. Hey. I was just about to call you. How are you feeling? Sarah. I need to talk to you about something. Okay, but make it quick. I'm meeting someone for lunch in like 20 minutes. Sarah. I'm looking at my bank accounts. There's money missing. A lot of money. Silence. Then. What do you mean? I mean someone has been withdrawing money from my accounts. From the ATM near your house. Using my card. More silence. I could hear her breathing. Sarah? Dad. I don't know what you're talking about. Her voice was defensive now. Sarah, you have my card. You've had it since my surgery. Dad, are you sure you're feeling okay? Maybe the medications are making you confused. Or maybe someone stole your card. Have you called the bank? Sarah, please, just tell me the truth. Did you take money from my accounts? Another long pause. Then suddenly she started crying. Big, gulping sobs. Oh God, Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was going to tell you. I was going to pay it back. There it was. Confession. But instead of feeling vindicated, I just felt sick. Why? I asked. My voice cracked. Why would you do this? Dad, we were desperate. Brian lost his job 6 months ago. We're behind on our mortgage. We were going to lose the house. I panicked. I thought I would just borrow a little bit, and then I'd pay you back when Brian found work. But then things got worse, and I needed more, and it just spiraled. Dad, I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. She was crying so hard she could barely talk. And despite everything, despite the theft and the lies and the missing birthday party, part of me wanted to comfort her, wanted to tell her it was okay. That was the part of me that had been her father for 40 years. The part that would do anything to protect her. How much trouble are you in? I asked quietly. Bad, Dad. Really bad. The bank is threatening foreclosure. We're 3 months behind. If we don't come up with $12,000 by the end of next month, we lose everything. And Brian really lost his job? Yes. He was laid off from the tech company. He's been looking, but nothing yet. I closed my eyes. Sarah, what you did is theft. You stole from me. I know. I know. Dad, please don't call the police. Please. I'll pay you back. Every penny. I swear. Just give me time. Please. I felt torn in half. She was my daughter, my only child. But she had stolen $52,000 from me, had let me lie in a hospital bed alone while she spent my money, had lied about a birthday party to avoid seeing me. Come over tomorrow, I said finally. We'll figure out a payment plan. But Sarah, this can't happen again. You understand me? This ends now. Yes, yes. I promise. Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much. I'll come over tomorrow. I promise. I love you. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding the phone, feeling like I had just made a terrible mistake. But what choice did I have? She was my daughter. You don't send your daughter to prison. The next day, I waited, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with all my bank statements printed out. Noon came and went. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. She did not show up, did not call. At 3 o'clock, against my doctor's orders, I got in my car and drove to her house. It was a 40-minute drive. My chest ached the whole way, but I needed to see her, needed to understand. I pulled up to her house. It was a nice place, much nicer than mine. 4 bedrooms in a new development, 2-car garage, professional landscaping. The mortgage on a place like this had to be at least $3,000 a month. I walked up to the front window and looked inside. My heart, my poor damaged heart, felt like it was being crushed in a vice. Sarah and Brian were loading suitcases into a car. Lots of them. Brian was laughing, wearing expensive clothes, a designer polo shirt, shoes that probably cost $300. He looked very much employed, very much not struggling. Sarah was smiling, looking at her phone, looking excited. They were leaving, running away with my money. I stood there frozen, watching my daughter prepare to disappear. And the worst part, the part that made me want to fall to my knees right there on their perfect lawn, was the realization that there had been no job loss, no mortgage crisis, no desperate situation, just lies, just greed, just a daughter who saw her father as nothing more than a bank account to be drained. I got back in my car before they could see me, drove home with tears running down my face, called my bank, called the police. This time, no mercy, no second chances. You do not get to steal $52,000 from your father and walk away. Detective Wilson came to my house the next morning. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with graying temples and tired eyes that said he had seen too much of humanity's worst. I showed him everything. The bank statements, the ATM locations, the timeline, my handwritten notes about giving Sarah the card for emergencies 4 years ago, the phone call where she confessed. Did you record that call? He asked. No, I didn't think to. He nodded slowly, making notes. Mr. Lowell, I'm going to be straight with you. This is complicated. You voluntarily gave your daughter access to your accounts at one point, correct? For emergencies. Not to drain them. I understand. But from a legal standpoint, that creates a gray area. Defense attorneys love gray areas. She's going to claim you gave her permission, but I didn't. Not for this. I believe you. But proving that in court, that's harder. This might end up being a civil matter rather than criminal. You might have to sue her. My head was spinning. What about the confession? She admitted it on the phone. Without a recording, it's your word against hers. She'll deny it. He looked at me with something like pity. I'm not trying to discourage you. We'll investigate. But I want you to understand what you're up against. Family theft cases are difficult. He left with copies of all my documents, told me he would be in touch. I felt more lost than ever. That afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Lowell? A man's voice, cold and professional. This is Donald Pritchard, attorney at law. I'm calling on behalf of Sarah Henderson, your daughter. My stomach dropped. What? I wanted to inform you that Miss Henderson is filing for a restraining order against you. She claims you have been harassing and threatening her. What? That's not true. She stole from me. Mr. Lowell, My client states that you appeared at her residence yesterday in what she describes as an aggressive manner. She says you've been making threatening phone calls demanding money. She's quite frightened. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She stole $52,000 from me. My client maintains that any money in question was given to her with your full knowledge and permission. She has text messages from several years ago where you told her she could use your card for emergencies. She considered her financial situation an emergency. That's not how it works. Mr. Lowell, I'm calling as a courtesy to advise you to cease all contact with my client. If you continue to harass her, we will pursue the restraining order. Additionally, making false accusations could constitute defamation. I'd advise you to consider your next steps very carefully. He hung up. I sat there in shock. Sarah had not just stolen my money. She was now painting herself as the victim, turning this around on me. 2 days later, a thick envelope arrived via certified mail. Inside was a cease and desist letter from Pritchard's law office. Legal language filled 3 pages, but the message was clear. Stay away from Sarah or face legal consequences. I needed my own lawyer. I called 3 different firms before finding one that would take my case. Margaret Hayes worked out of a small office above a dry cleaner in the older part of town. She was in her 50s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. The retainer was $3,000. It hurt to write that check, but I had no choice. Margaret reviewed everything. She was quiet for a long time. Mr. Lowell, I can help you, but I need to be honest. Cases like this are expensive and time-consuming. We're talking civil court, which means it could take a year or more. Legal fees could run $20,000 or higher. And even if we win, collecting the judgment is another battle. If she spent the money, you might never see it back. So what do I do? Just let her get away with it? No. We fight. But you need to know what you're facing. Over the next week, Margaret filed paperwork, motions, responses to the restraining order request. It was exhausting and confusing. I spent hours in her office going over details, signing documents, emptying my bank account to pay her retainer and fees. Then, 3 weeks after my discharge from the hospital, a new envelope arrived. Margaret called me immediately after I sent her a photo of the contents. Lowell, we have a serious problem. What? Sarah has filed a petition for guardianship over you. The words did not make sense at first. What does that mean? It means she's asking the court to declare you legally incompetent. She wants to take control of your finances, your property, your medical decisions. Everything. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. How can she do that? She's claiming you're mentally incompetent due to age and your recent health crisis. Says you're making irrational financial decisions and false accusations against her. Claims you need someone to protect you from yourself. But I'm fine. I'm completely fine. I know. But if a judge grants this, even temporarily, you'll lose all your autonomy. She'll control everything, Lowell. Your bank accounts, your house, your medical care. She could even have you institutionalized if she wanted. I couldn't breathe. My daughter was trying to take over my entire life. The hearing is in 3 weeks, Margaret continued. We need to prepare. We'll need medical testimony, character witnesses, documentation that you're of sound mind. This is serious, Lowell. This is as serious as it gets. I hung up and stared at the wall. My own daughter was not just a thief. She was trying to take away my freedom, everything I had left, and I had no idea if I could stop her. Margaret worked fast. She got a letter from Dr. Anderson, my cardiologist, confirming I was mentally competent and capable of making my own decisions. She scheduled a cognitive evaluation with a psychologist who tested me for 2 hours and concluded I was perfectly sound. We gathered character references from my former co-workers, from Frank next door, from Patricia, the nurse, but Sarah was building her own case. 1 week before the hearing, my nephew Todd showed up at my door. Todd was 42, the son of my late brother Marcus. We had not spoken in 5 years, not since a dispute over my father's estate. Todd thought he should have gotten more. I disagreed. It got ugly. Now here he was, standing on my porch with a concerned expression that did not quite reach his eyes. Uncle Lowell, I heard you've been sick. I wanted to check on you. I let him in, against my better judgment. We sat in the living room with uncomfortable silence between us. "Sarah told me what's happening," he said finally. "She's really worried about you." "Is that so?" "She says you've been acting strange, making wild accusations. She thinks the heart attack might have affected you more than the doctors realize." I stared at him. "Todd, Sarah stole $52,000 from me." He shifted uncomfortably. "She says you gave her that money, that you're confused about it now." "I'm not confused. I'm completely clear. She drained my accounts without permission." Todd looked away. "Uncle Lowell, maybe you need some help. Sarah just wants to make sure you're taken care of. By taking control of my life? By making sure you don't get taken advantage of. By scammers, or people who might try to exploit you." I understood then. Sarah had gotten to him first, told him her version, and Todd, who already had issues with me, was happy to believe her. "Sarah's been calling around to the family," Todd continued. "Aunt Janet, Cousin Amanda, Uncle Robert. We all think she's doing the right thing. Someone needs to look out for you." My blood ran cold. "How many people has she talked to?" "Most of the family. We're all concerned, Uncle Lowell. We care about you." After he left, I tried calling Janet. She didn't answer. Left a voicemail saying I was fine, that Sarah was lying. "Please call me back." She never did. I called Amanda. She answered but sounded distant. "Uncle Lowell, Sarah already told me everything. She showed me some really concerning texts you sent her." "What texts?" "Where you accused her of stealing, said really harsh things. She's heartbroken." "Amanda, those things are true. She admitted it to me." "That's not what she says. She says you're getting confused, mixing things up." "I'm sorry, Uncle Lowell, but I believe her." Everyone believed her. She had poisoned the entire family against me. Margaret called with more bad news. The ATM footage from 8 months ago was gone. Banks only keep footage for 6 months. Without video proof, it was harder to establish that Sarah made the withdrawals without ongoing permission. "We still have a case," Margaret insisted, "but it's weaker than I'd like." Then my chest started hurting again. Not a full heart attack, but severe angina. The stress was literally breaking my body down. I ended up in the emergency room. They kept me overnight for observation, adjusted my medications, told me I needed to reduce stress. That was almost funny. Reduce stress while my daughter was trying to steal my life. Sarah's lawyer used my ER visit to file an emergency motion. Claimed I was physically unstable and couldn't care for myself. Requested immediate temporary guardianship pending the hearing. I lay in that hospital bed feeling everything slip away. The hearing was in 5 days. I was weakened, isolated, under attack from my own child. My family thought I was crazy. My body was failing. How had this happened? How had I gone from a father who sacrificed everything for his daughter to a victim of her cruelty? Late that night, I had a visitor. Patricia, the nurse from my first day. She had heard through the hospital grapevine that I was back. "Mr. Lowell." She pulled up a chair, her face serious. "I heard what's happening. The legal stuff. Yeah, not going well. I need to tell you something. I've been debating whether to say anything, but I can't stay quiet." She took a breath. "When you were here the first time, unconscious, Sarah came to visit." I sat up slightly. "She did? Late at night, after midnight. She thought you were completely out. I saw her going through your personal belongings, your wallet, your papers. She took something. Paperwork about your life insurance policy. I saw the header before she folded it up. My life insurance. $200,000. Sarah was the beneficiary. I didn't report it because I assumed she had permission," Patricia continued. "But now, knowing everything else, I realized she was checking your assets. Planning something. Would you testify to that?" "Yes. If it helps you, yes. I'll tell the judge exactly what I saw." For the first time in weeks, I felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, I could fight this. But the next morning, that hope dimmed again. Margaret called to say Sarah had submitted affidavits from 4 family members supporting her guardianship petition. Todd, Janet, Amanda, and my cousin Robert, all saying I seemed confused, forgetful, not myself. None of them had actually seen me or talked to me in years. but their statements carried weight. "We're going to fight this," Margaret said firmly. "We have Patricia's testimony. We have your medical evaluations. We're going to show that, Judge, you're completely competent, and Sarah is the problem, not you." But lying there in that hospital bed, listening to machines beep and nurses' footsteps in the hall, I felt like I was drowning. Every time I came up for air, another wave pushed me back under. My daughter had stolen my money, turned my family against me, was trying to take my freedom, and I was just one old man with a broken heart trying to survive. The hearing was in 4 days. 4 days to save my life. Something changed in me that night in the hospital. Maybe it was hitting absolute rock bottom. Maybe it was finally accepting that Sarah was not going to suddenly become the daughter I wanted her to be. Maybe it was just survival instinct kicking in. I stopped crying, stopped feeling sorry for myself, started thinking Sarah's weakness was her greed. She wanted my money, my insurance payout, my house. That was what drove her. And greed makes people careless. When I was discharged the next morning, I sat down with Margaret and laid out a plan. "I want you to start a rumor," I told her. She raised an eyebrow. "What kind of rumor?" "That I'm seeing someone, dating, and that I'm thinking about remarrying." Margaret stared at me. "Why would we do that?" "Because if Sarah thinks there's another woman in the picture, someone who might end up with my money, my house, my insurance, she'll panic. She'll do something stupid." Margaret thought about it. Slowly, she smiled. "That's actually brilliant. Desperation makes people slip up." She started carefully spreading word through the legal community. Mentioned to opposing counsel in a casual way that I had a lady friend. Told the court clerk she'd seen me having coffee with someone. Small seeds planted in fertile ground. Meanwhile, I hired a financial forensic investigator named Gary Stevens. Cost me $2,000, but he was worth every penny. He dug into Sarah's spending, her social media, her credit history. What he found was damning. Sarah and Brian were not in any financial trouble. Brian had never lost his job. He was a regional sales manager for a medical supply company making $92,000 a year. Their mortgage was current. No late payments, no foreclosure notices. They were just greedy. They saw an elderly father with money and took it. Gary found Sarah's social media posts from the past year. She had forgotten to make many of them private. Posts showing off a new designer handbag, photos from a luxury resort in Cancun, pictures of expensive home renovations, a new Tesla in their driveway, all purchased with my money while I lay in a hospital bed alone. The hearing was in 3 days when Margaret made her move. She called Sarah's lawyer and mentioned, casually, that I had changed my will, removed Sarah completely, named a new primary beneficiary. "Who?" Pritchard asked. "I can't discuss the specifics, but let's just say Mr. Lowell has found companionship in his recovery. He's very grateful to certain people who have shown him kindness." That was the bait. Now we waited to see if Sarah would bite. 2 hours later, while I was sitting at my kitchen table reviewing notes for the hearing, someone started pounding on my front door. I looked through the window. Sarah. Her face was red, her eyes wild. I turned on the hidden camera I had set up the day before. Small thing, mounted on the bookshelf, aimed at the door and living room. Then I let her in. "Dad." She pushed past me into the house. "We need to talk." "About what? Did you change your will?" Her voice was shaking. "Yes, I did." "Who did you leave everything to?" "I don't think that's your concern." Her mask cracked. The concerned daughter act vanished, replaced by pure rage. "Not my concern? Not my concern? That's my inheritance, Dad. Mine. I'm your daughter. You're my daughter who stole $52,000 from me, who left me alone in the hospital, who's trying to take control of my life. That money was going to be mine anyway," she screamed. "You're 70 years old. How much longer are you going to live? Why should some stranger get what's mine?" There it was. The truth, finally out in the open. "So you thought you'd just take it now?" I said quietly. "Drain my accounts while I was still breathing? You don't need that much money. You're old. What are you going to do with it? I needed it. Brian and I have a life to build by stealing from your father. It's not stealing if it's going to be mine. Eventually, anyway." Her voice was getting higher, more desperate. "Who did you leave it to?" That nurse? Patricia? Is that who you're leaving everything to? I didn't answer. You're going to leave my inheritance to some woman you barely know? After everything I've done for you? Everything you've done for me? I couldn't help the bitter laugh. What exactly have you done, Sarah? You didn't visit me in the hospital. You stole my money. You're trying to take control of my life. I'm trying to protect you from making stupid decisions like this. She stepped closer, her finger jabbing at the air between us. If you don't change, that will back. I'm going to make your life hell. You understand me? I'll win that guardianship hearing. I'll have you declared incompetent. And then I'll put you in the cheapest nursing home I can find and let you rot there. You'll die alone in some state-run facility, and you'll have no one to blame but yourself. I let her rant, let her threaten. The camera captured everything. Finally, I spoke. Are you done? Change the will, Dad. Last chance. No. Then you'll regret this. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door, stopped with her hand on the knob. I tried to do this the easy way. Now we do it my way. She slammed out of the house. I stood there for a moment, then walked to the camera and turned it off. Downloaded the footage to my computer, backed it up in 3 places. Then I called Margaret. She took the bait. I said. I sent her the video file. She called back 10 minutes later. Lowell, this is incredible. She admitted to taking the money. She threatened you. She said it was going to be hers anyway. This destroys her credibility. What about the guardianship case? We have her on video admitting she's doing this for the inheritance. No judge is going to grant guardianship to someone who clearly has a financial motive. Plus, we have Patricia's testimony about her going through your belongings at the hospital. We have the forensic report showing she wasn't in financial distress. And now we have this confession and these threats. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The hearing is the day after tomorrow, Margaret said. We're going to win this, Lowell. She just handed us the case. That night, I actually slept. Not well, but better than I had in a month. Sarah had made a mistake. Her greed had made her careless, just like I knew it would. But I should have known she had one more card to play. I spent the next day preparing with Margaret, going over testimony, reviewing documents, practicing staying calm. The hearing was tomorrow at 9 in the morning. I felt cautiously optimistic. We had the evidence. We had the video. We had witnesses. Sarah's case was falling apart. That evening, I was sitting with Margaret at my kitchen table when someone knocked on my door. I looked through the window and my stomach sank. 2 police officers. I opened the door. Can I help you? The older officer, gray-haired and serious, held up a document. Lowell Henderson? Yes, sir. We have a warrant for your arrest. Everything stopped. What? You're being charged with felony, elder abuse, and assault. You need to come with us. Margaret stood up. Officers, I'm his attorney. What's this about? Ma'am, his daughter filed charges this morning. Claims he assaulted her yesterday. We need to take him in. Sarah, she had done this. Her final move. This is ridiculous, Margaret said. My client did not assault anyone. Ma'am, that's for the courts to decide. We have to take him in. The victim has photos of injuries and a medical report. They arrested me, put handcuffs on my wrists, read me my rights, walked me out of my house while my neighbors watched from their windows, put me in the back of a police car like a common criminal. At the station, they took my fingerprints, my photo, my belt and shoelaces, processed me like I was dangerous. Then they put me in a holding cell. The cell was small and cold. Concrete bench, metal toilet, bars. There were 3 other men in there with me. Young guys. Looked like they'd been in trouble before. They stared at me, this 70-year-old man in a cardigan, and probably wondered what I'd done. I sat on that bench and stared at the floor. My chest hurt. My heart felt like it was trying to break out of my ribcage. The stress was overwhelming. A guard came by every hour to check that I was still breathing. Around midnight, the pain in my chest got worse, stabbing, radiating down my left arm. I called for help. The guard took one look at me and radioed for medical. They took me from the jail to the hospital in an ambulance. Another ER. More tests. Unstable angina again, potentially progressing to another heart attack. They admitted me, hooked me up to monitors, started adjusting medications. Margaret came to see me early the next morning. She had gotten me released on bail, $10,000, posted at 6 in the morning. But the damage was done. The guardianship hearing is in 3 hours. She said, "You're not going to be there. Can't we postpone it?" Sarah's lawyer filed an emergency motion. "They're claiming you're violent and dangerous, using your arrest as evidence. They want immediate temporary guardianship." I closed my eyes. The arrest, the hospitalization. It all made me look unstable, dangerous, incompetent. "They're saying the video shows you were antagonizing her," Margaret continued. "That you set her up, provoked her, entrapped her, and now, with the assault charges, her narrative is that she's the victim of an abusive father. But the charges are fake. She made them up. We'll prove that eventually. But right now, it helps her case. Lowell, I have to be honest. This looks bad. Really bad. The judge might grant temporary guardianship just to stabilize the situation while we sort everything out. If she gets temporary guardianship, she'll empty what's left of my accounts and disappear. I know." A nurse came in to check my vitals. She frowned at the numbers. "Mr. Henderson, you need to try to stay calm. Your blood pressure is dangerously high." Stay calm. How could I stay calm? I was watching my entire life be stolen from me, piece by piece. After Margaret left to go to the hearing without me, I lay there staring at the ceiling. Machines beeping, nurses moving around, the normal sounds of a hospital. I thought about Emily, wondered what she would think of the daughter we raised, wondered if I'd failed somehow as a father, if I'd been too lenient, too generous, not taught her the right values. Or maybe some people were just born with something missing, some piece of conscience, of empathy, of basic human decency. Maybe you can't teach that. The hearing was happening right now. My future being decided in a courtroom without me. Margaret would fight for me, but would it be enough? Around noon, there was a knock on my hospital room door. I expected Margaret with bad news. Instead, Todd walked in. I stared at him. "What are you doing here?" He looked uncomfortable, guilty. He closed the door behind him and sat in the chair beside my bed. "I need to tell you something," he said. "Something I should have told you weeks ago." "What?" He took a breath. 3 months ago, before your heart attack, Sarah came to see me, asked me if I thought Grandpa's estate was divided fairly when he died, if I felt like I got cheated. I remembered that dispute 5 years ago. My father had left most of his modest estate to me because I'd been his primary caregiver for years before he died. Todd got some, but less. He'd been angry about it. I told her I was over it. Todd continued, that it was water under the bridge. But then she said something that stuck with me. She said she was planning to take control of your finances soon, for your own good. Make sure you were taken care of. My blood ran cold. She said that? 3 months before my heart attack? Yes. I didn't think much of it at the time. Thought she was just worried about you getting older. But now, knowing everything else, I realized she was planning this before you even got sick. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? Because I'm an idiot. Because I believed her at first. Because there's always been tension between us. And part of me wanted to believe you were the problem. He looked at the floor. But I couldn't sleep last night. Kept thinking about you getting arrested. About all of this. It didn't sit right. Is there more? He pulled out his phone. The night you recorded that confrontation with Sarah, after she left your house, she texted me. She was angry, ranting. I was half asleep and kind of drunk. She said something in the text that I deleted the next morning because I felt weird about it. But I recovered it this morning from my backup. He showed me the screen. A text from Sarah to Todd, sent at 11:32 that night. That bastard recorded me. Had to think fast. Gave myself a few bruises to make it look good. He'll regret messing with me. Going to make him pay. I stared at those words. A confession. She had admitted to faking the assault. You have this? I asked. Yes. And I'm going to the police with it. I'm going to tell them what she said 3 months ago. And I'm going to testify for you if you need me to. Why now? Why help me now? He met my eyes. Because it's the right thing to do. Because I was wrong. And because you're my uncle. And family is supposed to look out for each other, not destroy each other. He stood up. The hearing started at 9. I'm going to call your lawyer right now. Tell her about this. Maybe it's not too late." After he left, I lay there feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Real hope. Maybe this nightmare was finally about to end. The courtroom was full when Margaret wheeled me in. I insisted on going, even though the doctors said I should stay in the hospital. I needed to be there for this. Sarah sat at the defense table with her lawyer, Donald Pritchard. She had dressed carefully for this. Conservative outfit, minimal makeup, looked like a concerned daughter. When she saw me come in, her eyes went wide. She had not expected me to show up. Extended family members filled the gallery. Janet, Amanda, Robert. Most of them had signed affidavits supporting Sarah's guardianship petition. But I noticed Todd sitting on my side of the room now. Judge Mary Caldwell presided. She was in her 60s, gray hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been hearing guardianship cases for 20 years. Pritchard went first, presented Sarah's petition, her concerns about my mental state, my health crises, my unstable behavior, showed my hospital records, the arrest warrant, the ER visits. "Your Honor, Miss Henderson is a devoted daughter who only wants to ensure her father's well-being. Mr. Henderson has shown increasingly erratic behavior, making wild accusations against his own child, showing up at her home in an aggressive manner, recording confrontational conversations. His repeated health emergencies demonstrate he cannot care for himself. He was just arrested for assault on his daughter. This is a man who needs help, whether he wants to admit it or not." Then Janet testified. Said I had always been difficult, stubborn, unwilling to listen to reason. Amanda said the same. They painted a picture of a cranky old man losing his grip on reality. Sarah took the stand. She cried. Actually cried real tears. Talked about how hard it had been watching me decline. How she only took money because she was worried about me being scammed by strangers. How she was protecting me. How I had grabbed her arm during our confrontation. Shoved her. How she was afraid of me now. It was a masterful performance. If I did not know the truth, I might have believed her myself. Then it was our turn. Margaret started with Dr. Anderson. He testified that I was mentally competent, physically recovering well, capable of making my own decisions. The psychological evaluation backed this up. Perfect cognitive function. No dementia, no confusion, no mental decline. Then Patricia took the stand. She described seeing Sarah go through my belongings at the hospital while I was unconscious. Described Sarah taking paperwork about my life insurance policy. The judge's expression shifted slightly. Margaret presented the forensic financial report. Showed that Sarah was not in financial distress, that Brian had never lost his job, that they had spent my money on luxury items while their own finances were perfectly stable. The social media posts flashed on a screen. Designer bags, resort vacations, home renovations, all time-stamped after my money started disappearing from my accounts. Then came the video recording. The courtroom was silent as they played it. Sarah's voice screaming that the money was going to be hers anyway. Threatening to put me in a cheap nursing home to rot. Admitting she took the money without real permission. I watched Sarah's face go pale. Watched Pritchard lean over to whisper urgently to her. She shook her head, whispered back. "Objection," Pritchard said. That recording was obtained through entrapment. My client was provoked. "Overruled," Judge Caldwell said. "Continue." Margaret kept going. Showed the ATM records, the credit card charges, the timeline of theft going back 8 months. But most importantly, Your Honor, Margaret said, we have new evidence that came to light just this morning. She called Todd to the stand. He looked nervous, but he told the truth. About Sarah approaching him 3 months before my heart attack, talking about taking control of my finances. About her text message the night of our confrontation. Margaret displayed the text on the screen. Gave myself a few bruises to make it look good. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Caldwell banged her gavel. Sarah was crying again, but these were different tears. Panicked tears. Pritchard tried to object, tried to explain, but there was no coming back from this. Judge Caldwell asked Sarah to approach the bench. Asked her directly if she had fabricated the assault allegations. Sarah tried to lie. Started to say no, but looking at that text message on the screen, knowing everyone had seen it. She broke. He was going to give all my inheritance to some nurse, she said. It wasn't fair. After everything I'd done. What exactly had you done, Miss Henderson? The judge asked coldly. Sarah realized her mistake. Stop talking. Judge Caldwell did not need to hear more. I'm denying the guardianship petition in its entirety, she said. Furthermore, I'm issuing a restraining order against Miss Henderson. She is not to contact Mr. Henderson or come within 500 feet of him. I'm referring this matter to the prosecutor's office for investigation of the assault charges, with a strong recommendation that they be dismissed and that Miss Henderson be investigated for filing a false report. I'm also recommending that the bank fraud be investigated for potential criminal prosecution. She looked at Sarah with something like disgust. Miss Henderson, you came into my courtroom and lied under oath. You fabricated assault allegations against your own father. You stole tens of thousands of dollars from him while he was in the hospital recovering from a heart attack. I've seen a lot of terrible things in this courtroom, but this ranks among the worst. You should be ashamed of yourself. Sarah was crying, trying to talk, but her lawyer pulled her away from the bench. As they left the courtroom, some family members approached me. Janet was crying, apologizing. Amanda hugged me, said she was sorry she did not believe me. Todd squeezed my shoulder. I'm proud of you, Uncle Lowell, he said quietly. The weeks that followed were a blur. The prosecutor reviewed everything and filed criminal charges against Sarah. Theft over $50,000, filing a false police report. Her lawyer negotiated a plea deal. 5 years probation, full restitution of $52,000 on a payment plan, 200 hours of community service. She took the deal. Her reputation was destroyed. The extended family wanted nothing to do with her. Her husband filed for divorce 8 months later, claimed he did not know about the theft, but I suspected he did. I changed all my passwords, got new bank cards, closed the accounts she had accessed and opened new ones, updated my will with a proper estate attorney, left most of my estate to charity, specifically to organizations that help victims of elder financial abuse, left some money to Patricia, who had shown me genuine kindness, and left a portion to Todd for his honesty when it mattered most. My health improved. The cardiac rehab program helped. Turned out a lot of my heart problems were stress-related. When the stress lifted, my body started healing. Patricia invited me to volunteer at the hospital gift shop. I met other volunteers, made friends, real friends who cared about me as a person, not for what I could give them. I started attending a support group for elder financial abuse victims, shared my story, helped other people who were going through similar situations. It felt good to turn my pain into something useful. 1 year later, I was doing better than I had in years. Healthier, happier, surrounded by people who valued me. I still thought about Sarah sometimes, wondered where she was, how she was doing. Part of me would always love her, would always wish things were different, but I'd learned a hard truth. Love without respect is not real love. Being a parent does not mean accepting abuse or exploitation. Sometimes the hardest thing is setting boundaries with your own children. Sometimes the people who should love you most are the ones you need to walk away from. One afternoon, I was at the grocery store loading bags into my car when I saw her. Sarah, across the parking lot. She looked tired, older, worn down. Our eyes met. She looked away first, got in her car, drove away. I felt sad for what could have been, but I also felt at peace. I had survived. I had fought back. I had won my freedom and my dignity. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with Patricia and Todd. We were planning a fundraiser for the Elder Abuse Awareness Organization. Patricia brought cookies. Todd told bad jokes. We laughed. Sunlight streamed through the windows. The same windows Emily had looked through years ago. The same kitchen where we had raised Sarah, where I had made so many sacrifices trying to be a good father. But this was different now. This was chosen family. People who showed up because they wanted to, not because they had to. People who valued me for who I was, not what I had. I learned that real family is not just blood. It's the people who show up when you need them, who tell you the truth even when it's hard, who stand beside you in your darkest moments. Some losses are painful, but losing yourself is worse. I fought for my dignity, my autonomy, and my right to be treated with respect. And I won, not just in court, but in reclaiming my life and understanding my worth. At 70 years old, I learned the hardest lesson. Sometimes the people who should love you most are the ones you need to walk away from, and sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. I thought about Emily, wondered if she was watching somehow, hoped she was proud. I had stumbled, had almost lost everything, but I had found my way back, found myself again, found my worth, and that, more than any amount of money, was the greatest gift I could have received. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family? Have you ever been in a situation where someone you loved took advantage of you? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's going through something similar. If this story resonated with you, if it touched your heart or taught you something, please consider hitting that like button. It helps more people find these stories. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future stories. There are so many more experiences to share, so many more lessons to learn together. Share this video with someone who might need to hear this message. Maybe someone who's struggling with family issues, or someone who needs to know they're not alone. Sometimes just knowing other people have faced similar challenges and survived can make all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here, for caring, for taking the time to walk this journey with me. I wish you strength in your own battles, peace in your own heart, and the wisdom to know your own worth. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, no matter who the other person is. Until next time.